This video is about the 5 most despicable occupations and society screening people out. Now, first of all, I'd have to say that the way the system works and who contributes to it makes them have a despicable occupation, career, job, etc. And of course, the bankers, control the money. Give me control of a nation's money. I care not who makes those laws. Meyer, Amschel, Rothschild, right? The politicians are collude with them, logically, obviously. I've gone over this thoroughly, and many people have. Then big business, big pharma, especially IT. You see how Google and big pharma contributes to this, and what have you. All the most profitable and, those who bring in the most revenue, especially. You see the food, even when food, McDonald's, and pushing fillers and GMOs and things that are bad for society. Mental health, psychiatry, psychology, and it brings me no pleasure in saying this when it comes to psychology because, well, I'll get to that in a second. And then finally, you have law enforcement, FBI, CIA. I consider law enforcement as well, even though they're an intelligence agency of the military, whatever. NSA, all the law enforcement, all the different factions, federal agencies, what have you, and the local police, And then, of course, afterwards, you have the lawyers, informants, used car salesmen, things that they play a lesser role, but they're still despicable jobs. Okay, so society basically is doing a social cleansing to a certain degree, in the aspect of, in the way that they are killing people and they are removing people from society, putting them in prisons and mental health institutions, state hospitals and detention centers, whatever. They look at things like this globally. Are you the type of person that when the going gets tough, when your life starts crashing, when you have extreme stress, that you go out and commit a crime, then you're going to go to prison, where they're going to further the psychiatric agenda as well by trying to put you on medications while you're there? When you are logically going to ask to behave a certain way, they're going to ask you, are you depressed? Things of this nature. They're going to put you in mental hospitals if you're the type of person that has some kind of a mental breakdown, or you start showing quote-unquote symptoms of mental disorder, or acting in a way that they can claim that you have a mental disorder. You're the type to try to illegally enter another country to try to search for a better life when things get bad and you're stressed out and what have you. Then they're going to put you in an immigration detention center. So when the system implodes because we didn't explode it and change it and make something better, there's going to be a mass movement of people to these sorts of institutions, and as well as FEMA camps. When these other, FEMA style camps, they might not be FEMA camps, they might just be, makeshift facilities, if you will. And they're going to put large amounts of people in them, as you see with protesters, how they make makeshift detention centers. And so, yes, and then I think that women contribute to this very greatly. Women help define what is socially normative. If you look at psychology, you look at family psychology, and who's usually the more social of a couple, it's usually the woman. So she's enforcing social norms slightly more than the man is. She's being more sociable. She's more offended when things are out of the ordinary, what have you. So this creates, they're screening out people. They're punishing people and their descendants by default. They're saying he has a mental disorder. Well, his child probably has a mental disorder. They ask you about the history of family, of mental disorders in your family when they quote-unquote diagnose you. When you take political action, they sabotage your life. I put in a movie where a clip where they told the protesters, I think it was in Alabama, the children who were protesting segregation and unjust treatment. They threatened their parents with job loss. This was a school board. showing you that there's networks of people. I call them secret societies because that's really what they are. They're a society that operates in secret. They don't have to necessarily be in Masonic lodges. Some of them are, some of them aren't. Um, they're affiliated with Masonry and the Jesuits and all this, but they're really just secret groups of people. Some of them form Ku Klux Klans type groups, white militant groups, political action type groups, what have you, clubs. So you basically see that what is going on is that they're screening out people. And I can't stress this enough. This is a big screen on society. The people who network with the people doing this and the people who work for the people doing this tend to be the people who do the best in society. And it's very dramatic. When I say tend to, it's almost in every single case. It's not about skill. I'm the top martial artist, as I always point out. I put my money where my mouth is. Was skill something that got me to the top? Or, the reason why I'm not at the top, it has to do with networking. Even if you say, well, you didn't join this tournament and that tournament, even if I did and I won those tournaments, what's going to bring my skills to the light is the networking. When you put in a job application, for instance, you might have a beautiful application. They might ignore it. You might know someone who knows the boss, and then they consider your application more carefully, and they're more likely to hire you, because you're networking. Even just going to apply in the first place is a form of networking. And efficient networking has to do with being in the in crowd, being part of the in group, the cliques, what have you. So yeah, there you have it. We live in a society that screens out the righteous. It's very detrimental. And what you have is a bunch of bootlickers. Now, the final point I want to make is probably the most important point, and all these points were leading up to this. So most people are in debt, the country's in debt, and they're given a choice. Either you pay off a certain amount of, your home loans, your car loans, your student loans, all these loans that you have to pay, pay the interest, pay the monthly payment, whatever, and you're left with just enough to survive, and you're put in a position where you're more likely to do things that you wouldn't do otherwise. Steal, make deals with people to have sex with them for money. And this happens a lot more than just with prostitutes. There's many cases of women who make deals who aren't prostitutes. They don't normally do this, and they make deals for money in order to have an easier life, in order to have the things they want. Sexual deals, sexual favors in exchange for money, job positions in exchange for money, job security. Job positions in exchange for sexual favors, job security in exchange for sexual favors. And as the gay agenda gets pushed more and more, there's going to be more straight men who put themselves in that situation. I've seen a documentary about a straight man who was in gay porn. He was a porn star who participated in gay porn even though it disgusted him because he needed the money. And so you're going to see a lot of this going on. So people are put in a position, either you fight these people to the death, you take a stand where you're not fighting to the death and they sabotage your life and your descendants, or you go along with the system and bootlick as much as you can. And so the system is designed to say who's bootlicking the best, who's quote-unquote networking the best, which is really bootlicking the best, and that person is going to have the nice car. Well, I know this person, and I have this nice car, and I have these things going for me. I remember I met this one guy. He claimed to be a rapper's brother, and he was a very square guy. And I'm talking about an underground rapper I'm not going to name. He's a very square guy. He made like 6-figure plus salary, black guy, light-skinned black guy, complete square, came off as a homosexual, but, denied it really without me asking him. He said certain things that would imply that he thinks homosexuals are disgusting, but he came off as your typical Masonic kind of homosexual. He admitted to being a Mason. I met him at the same, with a gay seeming Asian guy who did the same thing as him. They seem like they might even be gay lovers or something, but they both expressed disgust for homosexuality. And, it was like he was bragging about how he's got money, and, obviously women are going to come with it. And, you know, and because of his network, because he's a Mason, because he networks well, and that's how he got his position. And this is the society that we're going to live in, where, you know, who you know gets you the nice things, which gets you the women, and it's about bootlicking and selling out. So you really have a choices, you know. Just go out of your way to network with people, which is not as hard as you think, but, you know, it's still despicable. Bootlick without going out of your way to network. Fight back without being violent and have your life sabotaged as well as your descendants, or do the most honorable thing of all, fight to the death. So what does that do? Well, it screens out the most honorable people are going to be screened out, those who fight to the death. As I've told you before, the most righteous people in society are people who dress humbly. So even if these humble people choose to bootlick, which they're probably not going to, because then they wouldn't be the most righteous, but even if they did, they're being screened out because women aren't going for these type of people. I've showed you the studies where it shows you that perceived wealth is what women go for. You know, they can't really tell if you have wealth just by looking at you most of the time. But if you dress a certain way, you spend your money a certain way, you do things a certain way, you have certain things, they assume you have wealth, so it's perceived wealth. So, you know, all this contributes and factors into screening out righteous people and righteous bloodlines. The DNA of righteous people, you know, is being screened out. So it's a mix of nature and nurture, you know, what kind of person you are. And they're getting rid of the nature part, and they're nurturing society to be a certain way. And that's what you have going on. And we got to remember that these people very much believe in the nature part of the debate. They think that they're special because who they're related to. You know, the people on top. They think that some races are inferior because of their DNA. So they very much believe in the nature. So they're trying hard to screen out righteous people and righteous people in the future. They're going after the bloodlines. And it's working to a certain degree because nature is a factor of it. And making examples is part of the nurture. And people see how it works. They play the game instead of living a righteous life. So what I've chosen to do is the most honorable thing of all, which is fight these people to the death. And if you've truly paid attention to this video, you'll understand why that is. I think it's very sad that someone such as myself has to, you know, come to that conclusion. But if you think about it, the most talented people are probably going to be the most insightful people as well. So what is going on is the most insightful people are being screened out. So from the top all the way to the bottom, the most brilliant people, the most insightful people, the smarter people are being screened out. The most righteous people are being screened out. The most noble people are being screened out. And that's the society that we have. And if you listen to this video carefully, you know what my predictions are for the future. You know that the system's going to implode, or it's going to come close to what you would consider as imploding, and it's going to cause a catastrophic depression, and people are going to break down in certain ways, and the institutions are already there, ready, and there's already plenty of buildings and stadiums that can be turned into makeshift prisons. Thank you.